All right, guys, let's continue with some Run 8 action with the local train A720 up at Georgia Pacific on the it's a Fitzgerald DLC, but it's actually the Lineville sub, the little bit of the Lineville sub that's included with it up just north of Campground. So you remember the last video, we took our A720, we built our train at Manchester Yard, we brought her up here to Durand, and now we're actually going to get down to the nuts and bolts, which is the actual switching. So we ran around her here at this little pass track. This was something that, you know, I talked about in the last video. I've kind of debated, and we talked about it during today's live stream too. Someone said, one of our regular viewers, members said that they'd seen a picture on Flickr that said it showed the 720 at Durand, and it said that they had Dutch dropped the cars and gotten around them. Dutch drop's kind of a different interesting term. It's not something that I ever really remember using. I guess we called it jerking it by, right? Jerking the cars by. But either way, it kind of goes along a little bit with what I remember us kind of doing here. I don't think we did that all the time. I'm so fuzzy on it, and I don't know why. I think sometimes we use the siding if we fit, and sometimes maybe I thought we dropped them. I thought we rolled the cars by and didn't do a Dutch drop, but I don't know. And then they said that they saw a picture, I think from 2001, with 720 had wood chip hoppers on it. Like I said, why is she not moving? Oh, it's got handbrakes on. That would help. Now we're good. I don't ever remember touching any wood chip hoppers ever here. That's not to say that we didn't. I felt like the Southern was doing that at the time, 2002 to 2004, right? Later 2004 until they closed their line. Maybe we did and I just didn't. Maybe it was something we didn't do all the time. I'm really not sure on that. I personally don't ever remember messing with any chip hoppers here. Okay, we just needed to pull up a little bit. We didn't need to go that far. We just need to clear this switch right here, basically. Get our crossover back. So we can go back into GP. So like I said, the big discrepancy here to remember, and like I said, you can't roll cars by here because it's flat. You could possibly Dutch drop them or jerk them by. So basically what you would do is you would pull them around here. You would have your coupler selected, right? Bump your independent so the slack would run in on the pin, pull the pin, and then have like the locomotive lined into here. Then let the cars roll by down the main and then stop them. You could bust the air, stop them with a handbrake or whatever, and that would be a way that you could get around it. We'll have to try that sometime. I've never jerked cars by in Run 8. You know, I'd said that earlier today during the stream. I've never tried that, so we'll see how well that goes down, right? But the big problem here is that the grade isn't correct. I actually looked at the track profile, the real life one from back in the day, and it's actually like a 3% grade here to about where we cross the cross under the Southern. It may have been a little bit further down the bottom of the grade here, but yeah, if you think about it, they've got the Lineville sub at ground level, and actually it is the Southern that should be at ground level right here, and the Lineville or the CSX should go up under it. So it would be a good bit further down, you know. So the grade's a little bit off here, basically, is what that means. But all right, let's take these guys. We're going to shove around up in here. And it looks like we're lined in on top of the boxes. And I think I was looking to see what we got here. Yeah, it looks like everything is loaded. So it'll be a pull and replace. Man, I don't think we're going to do that. I don't want to empty this place out and empty it out completely, right? So we're going to kind of, you know, make a few adjustments here, I guess. Take a little creative license, kind of adjust it. I don't ever remember doing a straight pull and replace here. Like, the memory that I have working this place is that, and it was, I want to say, I don't remember doing anything outside. I don't think they had anything outside you could do. I think it was inside a building that you had to spot up in. And I don't remember like just pulling everything, swapping loads for empties. I want to say you kind of had to dig around in there, right? Like, some would be loaded, some would be empty. So you had to just kind of fish the loads out and go with them. And then some of the loads would be NS and some of them would be ours, and you had to fish those out. And kind of do it that way. I want to say like they would keep the other, like you could go in there and fish them out and then set them on this track right here as far as like the other railroad stuff. Like I said, it's literally been, you know, at least 20 years, if not longer than that. So I'm really fuzzy on it. We'll go in there. We'll take care of the boxes. And yeah, we'll get the boxes. We'll set them over. We'll spot the empties back up. And then we need to pull and replace the logs, and then we need to pull and replace the chip hoppers too. So yeah, a little bit of work here. All right, let's come on back. The end game, they had a place down here for tanks too. Yeah, we never did tanks. I'd never, ever saw. That is one thing I do know 1000% was that there were never any tanks in there. Unless something changed at some point that I'm not aware of, but... So we're going to grab this whole cut, and I want to stop a little bit short. You know, actually, for time purposes, we're just going to shift F7. I was going to say we'd stop short, we'd get the cut right, and then we would go about our business. But yeah, for time-wise, I don't want to do that. So let's get this guy up there. There we go. All right, let's shift F7. Release the handbrakes. Let's take them ahead. Shift F7 is really nice if you don't want to fool with that and go through the time of like cutting your air in and waiting on it and all that stuff. You know, you can just kind of get right to it. All right, so as you can see by our tags, we've got a Nollins car, we've got Tampa, the Tam, another Nollins, a Montgomery. We've got our GPDs, Georgia Pacific Durand. In game is actually tagged GPC for campground, but I changed it to Durand, which is what we always called it. But so it's going to be a little different, right? On your save. You can watch the video where we edited the industry configuration and kind of changed it up a little bit. All right, we're good to shove back on top of our log cars down here. So yeah, in fact, I did double check this in Google Earth. It is swapped around. It was different in real life. The logs went on the middle track and the chip hoppers went on the outside track. Yeah, that honestly, it really kind of puzzles me when they said they saw chip hoppers on 720 back in 2001, because I really don't remember messing with. Maybe it changed, right? I mean, how they received their stuff could absolutely change up. They may have had a supplier or shipped them on the Southern at that point because it's going to a customer on the Southern or something. I don't know. I really don't remember touching chip hoppers in yours. Not to say maybe I guess it didn't ever happen, but. All right, that'll do right here. I get a handbrake on them there. Let's close you out. Oh, we can't pull the pin. We gotta shove it on just a little bit. Take a little slack. That's the thing. It really kind of makes this game a little more challenging compared to like Railroader is the fact that you have that whole tension and slack mechanic on your pin where you can't pull the pin, you can't uncouple, you know. Wait a minute, I totally didn't shove these good enough. Never mind. Spur's an idiot. I have zero clue what I'm doing right now. We've got 2 more to hang on to. I thought we were putting these back, but alright, never mind. Let's do it again. Come on back. We may be able, maybe I just cut them at the wrong spot because we might be close to being clear up here. Alright, let's release you. Yeah, I just need to shove them a little further. Now we can cut them off here. We didn't lace it back up, so it's taking a little bit to get them moving, but there we go. Now we're good. All right, close you. Now we're good. Take them ahead. All right, let's hop up. Kerbo left a comment for me, and I always forget this. We were talking about, someone had asked how you catch up on the equipment. I said F11 is the one, but E. You can also use E. E is actually, like you said, a little easier when you're using WASD to move around. It's a little bit more convenient, right? So you can use E as well. Oh, keep going. Why has it got air set under it for some reason? I don't know why. That little light set. I must have accidentally bumped that. Alright, now we're good. Alright, let's get our switch. Hop up. Switch is lined in the clear. Let's come on back. Yeah, this is definitely, it could be kind of an involved place to switch because you are fishing loads out, and then some loads, like I said, are the NS and some loads are yours, so you're having to kind of, you know, swap things around a little bit, that sort of thing. It's definitely not just a straight pull and replace. And I think that's a big thing, like a big misconception. Everyone thinks that it's pull and replace. When it's really not. Plastic pellets, I've said this before, plastic pellets were some of the absolute worst things to work with, at least for me, all the stuff that I did anything with, because just about every plastic pellet place that I went to, like, they had certain spots for certain cars, right? So you may have 2 plastic pellet tracks at a place, 8 cars per track. And you may have to go on the outside track and pull one off spot, whatever, that's like too deep, you know, and have to grab. That's the empty. And then you have to put a car back in that spot, and it's got cars on top of it, and beneath it, it's like, it was always a lot, it seemed like. All right, let's get a handbrake on that guy. That's good. We're gonna get a handbrake on this one too. Alright, close you off. Pull pin. Catch up. And let's take him ahead. Nice. Yeah, I wish we had better log cars. that's definitely a must for this place. A better log car, something that looks a little better, something more appropriate, right? These are okay. They get by in a pinch, right? With their telephone poles. All right, let's get our switch. There we go. Switch is lined in clear. Let's come on back. So we'll have to pull these out to the main, because we're not going to have enough room to clear all these out. It depends on how many empty log cars are down in there. I think it's a pretty sizable cut. There we go. All right, hop down. Let's lace our air hoses. I think we got some more down here too, right? 2 down. Yep. Connect. Just open it up all the way. What is that? Yeah, I don't know where that came from either. All right, thank you. All right, my daughter just brought something that my our cat was eating on. OJ, if you guys, some of you guys are familiar with OJ. He's a little turd. He was eating some kind of wire. I don't know what, like, I don't even know what this is or where it came from, but this is what OJ was eating on. Like, I have no clue what that is. Like, it's some kind of LED deal. I don't think so. I don't think it came from there, miss. All right, let's open up the air the rest of the way. All right, I think we're good. Let's go to the bottom. We'll shove down there. We'll grab these empties. Wish there was some way we had a better, some kind of good work order system for the game, right? Like, even if it was just something that was separate, like a separate addition to the game, a separate program that somehow tied in together, that was like a legit, an absolute legit work order system. It'd even be cool if you could like print out work orders that look like our old work orders that we had. You know, the printer font, the old printer font looking deal. All right, let's shove down here. We'll grab these. We'll come back over. We'll grab our empty chip hoppers. We'll take all this out to the main. Drag it out on the main, set it out, and then come back and spot, or not our empty chip hoppers, our loaded chip hoppers, and then spot the empties up. Man, I'm just not with it this evening for some reason. I don't know why. We're just having a mental vacation. This is exactly what those signs tell you not to do. All right, sweet. Let's ship to F7 out. I don't want to mess with all those air hoses and stuff, so we did. It's a little bit cheaty, right? But all right, we're good. In the clear. Let's take him ahead. Oh, handbrake. All right, I was trying to scope out that switch up here. I just flat out don't see it. We may have to fly around a little bit. Oh yeah, it's on up. Okay. It's in that curve there. Yeah, this is going to take a little work because I think depends on how they pull their empties, right? As far as the chip hoppers. Yeah, it depends on how they pull their chip hoppers, right? Because they have to pull them through the loader. A lot of times they use a cable. Sometimes they use some kind of vehicle. I've never seen them use a track mobile. Usually it is some kind of cable pulley system that they use. And they do it in a group of a handful of cars. So really what we need to do is let me think about this for a second. Yeah, we can go ahead and get our chip loads. The good thing is we don't have any half-loaded cars, so that doesn't have to go back under the loader technically. It's just an empty. You can see this is it can quickly get to like a really sizable train. By the time you get all this stuff. Man, I swear everything's going off. My alarm's going off. My cat's eating random things in the house. I have no clue what they are. This is really just not the day to railroad, guys. I'm telling you. It's really just not. It's not the day to railroad. It's not a good day for it. Too many distractions. When you're doing these switching puzzles and you're working around heavy equipment, you need to have your head on your shoulders. You need to be locked in. You got to be locked in, 1000%. So yeah, we can set those over. We can set all this over up to the... okay, yeah, that'll work. That'll actually work out pretty decent. There we go. Ease them up here too, coupling. Sweet. Lace them up. Actually, shift F7. That's the one thing I really wish this game would save that state. If it's a cut of cars, they should all be laced. It's different if they're in a bowl, right? The bowl should be the exception, but I feel like if it's a cut of cars in game coupled together, they should just by default be laced and ready to go. They don't have to have air on them, but they need to be laced. Alright, close this guy. Pull the pin. F5. There you go, sweet. Let's take him to the switch. Take him to the main. All right, so we'll set a large majority of this out on the main line and then come back. And when we come back in here, all we'll have are the logs and the chip hopper empties, and we can spot them up appropriately and then be good to go. We'll be done. So if they pull the loads the opposite way, and I've seen this before, right, on chip loaders, like sometimes you could spot the empties ahead of it, and they would pull them to the bottom of their track, and the loads would be down here, right? Well, then if that's the case, then you've got to fish your empties off the top of them and get the loads out that way. But luckily, they're pulling them the other way. I can't, like I said, I just don't remember anything about the chip operations of this place. So I really don't know. Either way, they're going to pull them through the loads this way. That's the way we're going to do it on my railroad. My Georgia Pacific is going to pull them the convenient way. So yeah, we need to cut off on F first. Oh, are these T boxes or F boxes? What are they? They're T boxes. Okay. And what, F boxes are 50 feet, maybe? Luckily, we don't have any traffic to worry about. The main is ours, so we don't have to lock up in the clear or anything like that. Yeah, this is a lot of stuff. And that's the thing. I think back in the day, you know, we talked about the older 720 back in like the 80s and 90s and stuff. I think they had so much more stuff to do other than this. There was a couple of places up around LaGrange, Georgia that loaded chip hoppers, like some sawmills or something up there that did chip hoppers. There was like two places just north of town that did chip hoppers there. And then you had Woodyard at Pine. You had Woodyard at Standing Rock. You had Woodyard south of LaGrange. You had the Woodyard at Campground. So 1, 2 chip places plus 4 pulpwood yards. Not including Georgia Pacific. I want to say there was some kind of beer distributor or something over at South LaGrange. Maybe they switched that to, I don't know. That may have been gone for a long time. But you get my point. It could potentially, like back in the day, back in the olden days, it could have been way busy, right? Like they would have had a lot of stuff to do. At one time, this local, or if we go back to the early 80s, I think up till about CSX, 720 was known as the Wadley Turn. And I want to say it was the 588 and the 587. Don't quote me on that. It seems like maybe. And that train ran from Manchester all the way to Wadley, Alabama. So if you're not familiar with Lineville Sub, look up Wadley along the Tallapoosa River. That was a good run, but that wasn't. They didn't. I think the way they worked that job was they went to Wadley, stayed overnight, and then came back the next day or something. Like I don't see how they could have possibly like done all that in one day. That was a good. I mean, I guess maybe they could have. Maybe they turned and came back. Maybe, I guess they would, because there wasn't really anywhere from there for them to stay in Wadley overnight. So maybe they did turn. That seems like a crap load of work for them to do, even with a 5-man crew. Like a lot of distance and a lot of work. I mean, holy cow. All the stuff that we just named off going to Standing Rock, and then all the stuff to Wadley too, which was 4 more pulpwood yards. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pulpwood yards. 1 pulpwood yard at Abanda, so 5 pulpwood yards. So that's 9 pulpwood yards that I can think of off the top of my head. 4 wood chip places. And that includes Georgia Pacific. Then their stuff, their other stuff, their boxes and their logs. Man, I don't know. I really, I don't know how they did all this stuff back then. I really don't. Like, it's a ton of work. Yeah, that's like a crazy amount of work. A crazy amount of work. Like, even with a 5 maker. It's like I go back, I've said before, you know, I've heard those guys talk about spending 16 hours, you know, 12, 16 hours in one town. You know, of course, like way back in the day, the hours of service was a little different too. I think they allowed them 16-hour days or something instead of the 12. Man, I bet it was fun though when you had a 5-man crew. I bet you could get all kind of stuff done. A little bit further. We got to cut off at these boxes here. I've got a video I made of 720 back in 91. I think I made it with my dad. And they were in LaGrange, Georgia, and they had one engine that was a GP38-2. It was a Family Lines GP38-2, a single engine, and all they had were just like pultwood cars. So I don't know how that went down. Like, they didn't have any GP stuff. They didn't have anything else. It was literally just probably about 8 pultwood cars. So I'd imagine they were coming back from Standing Rock. There, we'll make our cut here. Go back into the plant, spot these logs up, and spot the chip empties, and we'll be good to go. Alright, take them ahead just a little bit here. That'll do. Give a handbrake. Because we gotta leave these unattended for a bit, so we'll tie them down good. This wasn't too bad. It's not too bad of a job. I mean, we've only been in it like 30 minutes. We'll have 40 minutes in this when we're done, probably. 40, 45. All right, stop here. Pitch up. Switch the line into clear. Let's come on back. Yeah, I really kind of wish the grade was more accurate right here, the way it really was, because it made it interesting, like shoving out of that hole up into the plant there. All right, we'll have to grab our switch. We're lined into the chip track, so we'll have to line ourselves into the log track. Like I said, we'll set these over and then go back. All right, slow her up just a tad. Crossing's clear. We can come on back. All right, this is a switch up here. When you get, we'll run ahead, grab it. Yeah, E is really convenient for getting on the equipment. I always forget that. It wasn't always, I don't think E was always an option, was it? I think for a longer time it was just F11 and they added E because it made it a little easier keybind wise. So we just spot these up towards the bottom. Like I said, in real life, they went on this middle track here. Middle track, outside track was chip hoppers, and then I think we put some empty boxes and some of the loaded ones that we didn't take with us on this track. And then this track was inside. Yeah, it was inside the building. You went up in there. That would have spot him about right here. Would be good. There we go. That'll do. All right, close you out. Pull the pin. Bang my head just a little bit. You see the problem with the chip hoppers being on the middle, these being on the outside, is they unloaded. Let's see, they unloaded these things with these big side loader deals. The cars are completely different. Like they'd have two stakes, and two stakes, and they would have it like in. It seems like in, was it 2 groups of logs or 3? There's 2 or 3 groups or logs, and so they would just go in there and they would just grab it, right? And they kept all the logs. It's kind of like this. Like they had these big piles of logs. They were short logs. They weren't the full length logs like this, right? Like they were, I don't know how long they were, maybe 10 or 12 feet, something like that, maybe. So with the chip hoppers being in the middle, it doesn't necessarily mean they could gain access to it, you know? So that's why these were in the middle, because they unloaded on this side. Either way, we're cut off. Let's get a handbrake. See, like the chip hoppers definitely block these. They totally wouldn't be able to unload these here. Get you. All right, let's take them ahead. We're in the clear. This is going to be easy peasy and it will be good to head back. Blooper, just cross it up here. let's hop down. So we'll shove in there. We'll grab one of those empties that we got in, and then we'll push them in. Spot the first one under the loader. All right, switch is line into clear. Let's come on back. I didn't realize this place has got actual doors on that part of the warehouse. I never paid attention. Knew it had the dock. Guess we could have actually spotted them up at a door, but yeah, we're not gonna worry about that. It'll be fine. All right, slow her up a little bit. Sweet. That'll do. All right, those are good. I don't know if I want to lace them up, honestly. Yeah, I guess we could. There we go. Only took a second. Open it up the rest of the way. All right, let's shove them on into a spot. I'm gonna say we'll get them under the loader here. Actually, it's gonna be down here. All right, one more car, one. Half car, half. Yeah, I'll do right here. Good enough. Sweet. Close you. Take a little slack. There we go. Pull the pin. Fortunately, we're going to push them off the spot. We'll let them take care of it with loader, right? They can do that. We're not going to put a handbrake on it. All right, hop back in the cab. All right, there you go. We got GP taken care of now. Grab our train off the main and head back to Manchester. We'll be good. I'm just getting way fast. We don't need to be that fast on this track. Straight ahead is where Southern would come in. I think it went straight ahead and then it had a switch that went out onto their main line too, so it kind of went like that maybe. And then it literally crossed us like right here, right in there somewhere probably. And it was kind of the bridge was like this tunnel looking deal. It looked a lot like a tunnel. in a way. It's very narrow. I know that. It was very, very narrow. We'll get up here, get our train together, and we'll have to, we'll turn auto and we'll use him. There's nothing to beat, nothing going on, so really it doesn't matter. We'll let him take care of our light. In fact, we can go ahead and turn him on now. There we go. Yeah, I'm really curious as to try drop or jerking cars by. See what that does. I think it definitely would be easier with a multiplayer crew. That way you just have one person focusing on engineering and one person focusing on making the cuts in the cars itself, you know, and then Alright, just a little bit more. Alright, they're real sweet. Lace them up. Open partial. Get our handbrakes. Handbrake there. That one's good. Check one more just to make sure. Sweet. Let our CFM coming out a little bit and we'll be set.
No, Big Cat, no.